Hi everyone. I would like to thank you all so much for taking the time to be here today for my final presentation night and to listen to me share my experience about ISM with you. It means so much that all of you could be here for me. But before I dive into my presentation, I would like for all of you guys to participate in a quick little simulation with me. Would everyone please close your eyes? Now that you have your eyes closed, imagine that you're sitting at the dinner table with your loved ones, your mom, your dad, your siblings, or your significant other, and then all of a sudden you feel your chest getting really heavy and you feel a crushing type of pain in your interior chest. You feel nauseous, like you can't breathe, and you begin to sweat. And within a span of a few minutes, the pain immediately radiates to your left upper extremity or your left arm. And you get so dizzy and the room is spinning around you and you realize that you have become a victim of heart attack. Unfortunately, these are the symptoms that a person deals with when experiencing a heart attack, and these are some of the more mild symptoms. And all of us will be affected by heart disease, whether it's through our parents, our cousins, our friends, or even yourselves. And so heart disease's significance in the majority of people's lives has made me choose to study cardiology this year in ISM. So now a little bit about myself. My name is Suhitha K, and I'm a junior here, and I live with my mom and my dad, and my sister is actually starting her residency this year at Johns Hopkins, and she's on her way to becoming a doctor, so that's kind of inspired me, and my family's always there for me to encourage me and support me in whatever choices I want to make. And then there are my friends who I can always be myself around, and they bring out the fun side in me. And then One Direction, even though Zayn left, they will always still be a part of my heart, and they will always be a part of me. So the first assignment in ISM was to look up a quote that would kind of be with us throughout our journey. And so the quote that I chose is by Joel Osteen, and it is, "Keep in mind, just because you don't know the answer doesn't mean that one does not exist. You simply haven't discovered it yet." And I felt like this quote perfectly fit with me because when I joined ISM, I didn't know what I wanted to be in the future. I didn't know if I wanted to be a doctor or if I wanted to go into business, and I didn't know what my true passion was. And when I was talking to my sister about it and asked her, how she knew that she wanted to be a doctor, she said that several things are going to catch my eye as I get older, and that so many different professions are going to seem exciting and like they're fun, but there's only going to be one true passion for me, and that whether I have to wake up at 5:30 in the morning or what, that I'll be excited to do it. And so this quote has shown me that even though I don't know what I want to do yet, that doesn't mean that there isn't an answer, and that I will find what's in store for my future. And I chose to take ISM because, like I said, I thought that it would help me to, I thought it'd be the perfect opportunity for me to further explore my interest in medicine and see whether it is a true passion for me or whether it's just something I like. And when I initially signed up for this class, I wanted to do neonatology because it's so much more different from the exposure to medicine that I've had, and I liked the idea of being such a big influence during a newborn baby's initial life stages. But like I said earlier, I chose to do cardiology because it is the #1 killer right now, and because it continues to, ruin so many people's lives each day. So I thought that maybe this year I'd study cardiology, and if I continue ISM next year, then maybe I could study neonatology next year. So the first major product for ISM was to conduct 5 informational interviews with professionals in our field of study. And this was probably one of the hardest part of my ISM journey because, I'm kind of socially awkward, and it's hard for me to step outside my comfort zone. And especially talking on the phone scared me a lot. But after I gathered the guts, I made my first phone call to Dr. Lynn Mahoney. And she's a pediatric cardiologist at the Ambulatory Center at Children's in Plano. And even though she was such an elderly woman, she was so enthusiastic, and you could see how passionate she was about pediatric cardiology. And she explained how, even to this day, she continues to research with a group of doctors and writes articles on recent findings and everything like that. So that was really interesting for me and made me want that same passion for whatever career I choose to do in the future. And then I interviewed electrophysiology cardiologist, Dr. Adam Shapiro, and he deals with the more electrical side of cardiology, like pacemakers and everything. And he really emphasized the importance of having bedside manner as a doctor and being able to really empathize with your patients and being there for them and understanding them. And then I interviewed Dr. John Osborne, who was extraordinary. He went to medical school at the age of 18, and he graduated from Harvard and everything. And you would think that someone who is so accomplished would be, kind of arrogant or kind of rude, but he was the complete opposite. He was so enthusiastic and so energetic. And what really makes Dr. Osborne stand out from all the other doctors is that he spends at least 30 minutes with each of his patients. And this is extremely rare because a doctor usually needs to go through a certain number of patients each day, and they can spend at the most only 10 to 15 minutes. But Dr. Osborne isn't like that, and he really makes sure to understand his patient and build that patient connection. So I thought that was really interesting with him. And then I interviewed Dr. Potlury, and my interview with him was more than just an interview. It was more than me just asking him questions and him answering. It felt like an actual conversation, and he really opened up to me about his journey to medicine, and this would be probably the most influential interview than all the other interviews that I had. And then I interviewed Dr. Sam Wilbert, who said that I need to be passionate about whatever career that I go into and that I need to really enjoy what I'm doing. So the common thing that I saw in all these doctors was how committed and how enthusiastic they were about medicine. And I learned that to be a doctor, hard work isn't the only thing, that passion and dedication are what you need to have, and yeah. So ultimately, I chose Dr. Potlury to be my mentor because of the story that he told me during his interview. He told me about how when he was younger, he didn't really have a choice of what career to choose. He was forced into going to medicine by his grandfather. So he never really had trouble getting into medical school, and he got in. But after 2 years, he realized that, this isn't for me, and this isn't what I want to do. I like to work with my hands, and I like to tinker. So he went on to his dad, and he said, "Dad, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to be an engineer, and I want to drop out of medical school." And his dad was completely supportive, but he said, once you choose your career, you're going to be doing it for the rest of your life. So there's really no rush in making a decision right now. So why don't you just finish up these last 2 years of medical school, and if you really don't like it, then you can go on to become an engineer. And so Dr. Potlury took this advice from his dad, and he finished up the last 2 years, and he ended up falling in love with medicine. And he beat all of his odds and came here and started his own. He became part of a group, and he loves what he does every day, and even throughout my mentorship, I can see that. So I started my mentorship with Dr. Potlury in January, and starting from the first mentor visit to the last one I had, I learned so much. And I've learned about valve degeneration, I've learned about pulmonary embolism, pacemakers, and how they target elderly people. And he taught me what the true definition of a doctor is. We usually think that a doctor is someone who saves someone's lives, or, something so great. But he told me that a doctor just simply facilitates healing, that it's, not as complicated as it seems, but that it is a very important job, and that being a doctor, you can't let the ego go into your head that, you're saving someone's life. And what I thought was really interesting throughout my mentorship was how much of an impact technology had. Usually when I had shadowed doctors before, I would see them taking their patient file into their patient room, and that's it. But Dr. Potlury, for every patient that he saw in his office, he would take in his laptop and he would type in everything that his patient was saying. This way, whenever he saw the patient, like a year or two later, he could just read what he typed in, and he would be able to know exactly what that patient was dealing with. So this showed me kind of, how technology is changing medicine and how important patient records are. And also, learning about Dr. Potlury's story made me realize that you don't need to be perfect and know what you're going to do in the future in order to be successful. We all go through school and see those people who have the perfect scores and who are, perfect grades, and they're perfect at everything and have everything planned out, but you don't need to be you don't need to be so sure to be happy and successful in the future. So I began my original work before I got my mentorship, and to kind of get the idea from my original work, I just started researching statistics about cardiology. And we know that heart disease is brought by a combination of factors, including diabetes, the size of your arteries, your diet, your lifestyle, your exercise, and family history. But despite this knowledge, the condition seems increasingly difficult to prevent and control. So I thought, is there another factor that we are overlooking, or is there something else that also plays a lead role in causing heart disease that we're not aware of? So when trying to research the patterns in heart disease in hopes of uncovering new and helpful information that could help us better understand how heart disease comes about, I began looking at a very unlikely factor, geography. At face value, it seems as though the state or city that you live in may have little impact on your personal health. But when one takes a look at the distribution of heart disease across the United States, a startling observation is made. While some states may seem saturated with heart disease, others seem relatively devoid of this condition. So my interest was in discovering if there was any environmental factors such as weather, pollution, greenery, and seeing if these had a significant role in causing heart disease. And as you can see in this map, your eyes are immediately drawn to all the red in the southeastern corner of the United States, which are Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, and even some parts of Texas. And then when you look at the western side of our country, it's kind of more pure and not nearly as drastic as the western part. And it's really scary to look at these states and see how many people die of heart disease over the age of 35. And I kept this in mind, and I kept in mind how New Mexico and Colorado and Arizona, Nevada were relatively devoid of heart disease. And I went into the winter showcase with this information, and I asked the people who came by my board and asked them why they thought the southeastern region had so much heart disease. And almost every single person said that it was because of their diet and their lifestyle, because they live in the South, so they thought, they eat fried food and fatty food, and that might be the main reason why the South has so much more heart disease. And then other people said to take a look at the ethnicity breakup. But when I looked at this map, it didn't really coincide with the heart disease map. And so then I went and I began looking at environmental maps. And this map shows the metropolitan breakup of our country. And you can see that the eastern part of our country kind of coincides with the other map, and this side is extremely green. And the green represents all the metropolitan and urban areas. And this makes sense because our first settlers and ancestors settled in the eastern part of our country, and these were the sides that were more developed and more industrialized. And the western side, you can see how it's almost completely white and pure of urban areas. There are some parts that have a lot of factories and stuff, but I came to the conclusion that the environment that you live in does have an impact on the incidence of heart disease, because the more urban area that you live in, the more air pollution there is. And air pollution is detrimental to your health. It has an inverse relationship with the human body, because the level of air pollution, the more air pollution there is, your lung function decreases, and as air pollution increases, it leads to the risk of heart disease. And air pollution specifically targets those with asthma, heart disease, and lung disease. And so that's why living in these industrial and urban areas is, very unhealthy. And when you relate it back to these states of, Colorado and New Mexico and Arizona, you can see that once again they don't have urban areas. And that goes with the other map too. And also these Midwestern states are known to be more green and are known to have more forests and spend more time outdoors and be more green. So I felt like all this was really interesting, how all these things kind of fit together like puzzle pieces. And I really, really enjoyed doing this original work. And other than seeing that, the environment that you live in has an effect on the incidence of heart disease, I learned that it's really important that we take care of our environment just like we take care of ourselves, and that it's important to plant trees and give back to our environment, because we're already at risk for so many various illnesses, and if there's a way to prevent this, then it's better for our environment and it's better for ourselves. So initially seeing that map of how heart disease, how drastic it was in the southeastern region, it really triggered my curiosity, and that's why I came up with my original work. And then for my final product, I had no idea of what to do, because the medical field is already so advanced and it has so many things. But then I thought about how many patients in today's society are reluctant to follow their doctor's prescriptions, while other patients, get lost in their busy schedule and they don't devote the time to repair their health. And this makes the job between patients and doctors really hard, because then the doctor doesn't know if the medication that they're giving their patient is really helping them or not. So that's why I wanted to create an app called HCare to generate another source to better remind patients of their daily prescriptions. Through this app, a variety of features would help the patient stay on track in terms of their diet, their fitness, and medication intake. And to understand how my app would function, I have created a scenario. So Linda is a 44-year-old patient with diabetes, and she's a very active and very busy woman, and comes home every day at 5:30. And the most convenient time for Linda in her schedule is between 6 to 7 p.m. So every day between 6 and 7 p.m., HCare would send out daily reminders to Linda. And one reminder would be from Linda's doctor. And the way this would work is, so once Linda comes out of her doctor's office, she would go to the nurse and tell her what her doctor said, and the nurse would use the app to put in her prescription and how much dosage she would need to take and everything, so that this way it would be easy to keep track of everything. And so Linda's primary care doctor, her cardiologist, and any other doctor would have access through her PIN number to her account, and would be able to prescribe the medication in an effective manner through this app. So that instead of Linda's cardiologist having to write down the prescription and then Linda having to remember to take that to her pharmacist and everything would just be here and make everything easier, because you always have your phone with you and you don't need to worry about losing it. And so this way, after Linda's appointment, she can tell her doctor about everything, and he can electronically submit his prescription to her through her account. And all she would need to have when going to her pharmacist is her cell phone. And through this, her doctor could also keep track of whether Linda is taking her medication or not, and this would help him determine whether that medication is actually being influential for her, or if it's not, and if he needs to change her prescription to something else. And HCare would also remind Linda to record her blood pressure every week, and would provide a chart to let her know how high or low her blood pressure should be according to her weight, her age, and her diet. And this would also help her doctor to better understand how her body is functioning. And additionally, HCare would send out banners of useful diet and exercise tips, such as, remember to stretch in the morning to help your circulation and digestion and back pain, and just general tips to help her live a better and healthy lifestyle despite her busy schedule. So overall, this app would allow doctors to easily communicate with their patients, and would help patients to take better care of themselves without, always having to worry about calling their doctor every time something is wrong. So after getting into the research for this product, I realized that I wouldn't have enough time to actually create an app and figure out how to put everything into it. So I decided that for this year's final product, that I would just research all the information and all the information that I would have in my app, such as the symptoms of heart attack and how to prevent heart attack, and kind of create a page with all the different cases that you can go through that have to do with heart disease, so that it's kind of like a dictionary of everything that you need to know about your heart. And I would have this chart for women and men, and how their blood pressure and how their heart rate and everything needs to be, and all the health tips. And so my final product has been to research all this information and create a template and a layout to showcase everything, so that it would be ready for next year if I wanted to continue doing the same product and the same topic. So when I asked my mentor about this, he said that one of the main things that I need to focus on is studying my competition, because there are already so many other successful up and running apps such as iTriage, WebMD, and Health Tip of the Day. And all three of these apps are used by thousands of users and have many special key features and are far advanced. However, none of these apps have the ability to directly connect the user with his or her personal doctor, and also don't have the ability to connect the doctor to the pharmacy. So HCare would be really unique because it would build the relationship between the patient and doctor and would help the patient keep track of his medical prescriptions. And I saw my doctor prescribing some of his patients with heart monitors because it keeps track of their blood pressure and everything, and then the patient through that monitor would have to send the information that they've tracked to the doctor again. But through this app, everything would be in your phone. So when you see your doctor, you could just show them your phone, or it would automatically go to your doctor. And this would just be a better app, and it would be more efficient and helpful to everyone. Here I've included a diagram of a transesophageal echocardiogram, which can also be called a TEE, and it is a test that uses sound waves to create high-quality moving pictures of the heart and its blood vessels. I actually saw my mentor doing this, and I thought it was really interesting how you could put a camera down your esophagus so that you could see your heart and how it's moving and how it's functioning. And so I would include various cases like this into my app so that the patient could see all the things that he would have to go through. And so overall, I have really enjoyed my ISM experience, and I really enjoyed working on my original product the most because I liked how I researched something that maybe was not directly known before and how everything fit together like puzzle pieces. And I want to thank my mentor for being so patient with me and for being so gracious and answering all my questions, and for really showing me that I need to be passionate and dedicated to medicine if I really want to pursue it or not. And for next year, I do hope to study medicine, but maybe a different field, I'm not sure yet. And I just want to thank everyone for helping me throughout this journey, and that's it. Thank you.